Well, here we go. Another big free agent just came off the board, and it's something that the defending champions really, really needed to do. This is Locked On MLB.
You are Locked On MLB, your daily MLB podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, baseball fans, and welcome to Locked On MLB, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. This is the daily podcast. We talk about all of Major League Baseball. I am your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully. Follow us at Locked On MLB Pods on Twitter or whatever it's called now, and on Instagram. I'm your pal Sully. I am at Sully Baseball, Blue Sky, Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram. And you can start your season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets. If you win your first $5 bet, visit FanDuel.com to get started. Okay, folks, I was planning to do a different podcast, a different subject for tonight. And who knows, maybe I'll go ahead and do that later this week. But holy Toledo, we got ourselves some news here late in the evening of November 26, 2024. The Los Angeles Dodgers have signed Blake Snell to a 5-year deal. This is a very, very big deal for the defending champs and really, really good news for Blake Snell. Now, lest we forget, in 2023, Blake Snell won his second, count it, second Cy Young Award. He is on the short list of players who have won the Cy Young Award in both leagues. Now, he's an interesting pitcher in that only twice in his career has he received any Cy Young Award votes, and both times he wound up winning. In 2018, he picked up the trophy while pitching for the Tampa Bay Rays, and 2 years ago, he picked it up while pitching for the San Diego Padres. And last year, even though he was the Cy Young Award winner, led the pitchers in WAR, and looked like he was would be a tremendous fit on many, many teams. No team would offer him a big long-term contract. No team would touch him with a cattle prod. And he went into spring training without a job. And this was one of the reasons why it was not the greatest. Last year was not the single greatest offseason in the history of Mr. Scott Boras. But you took a look up and you saw that, if you can't land a Cy Young Award winner to a big deal, what are you doing? And of course, he signed with the Giants without any spring training. And it looked like it was going to be a disastrous situation, and one where he clearly was going to pick up his contract for the next year. He got clobbered in his first start, lasting only 3 innings. He let up 7 runs in 4 innings in the second start, 5 runs in less than 5 innings in his next start, missed some time for an injury, and just was bad when he came back in May. Had 1 start against the New York Yankees in June, and at the halfway point of the season, he just looked bad. He hadn't won a game. His ERA, he lowered his ERA to the mid to 9.51, and it was nothing short of a disaster. Then he went on the injured list and came back and remembered who the hell he was. And you take a look what he did in July. He let up 2 runs total in 4 starts, and then started August with a no-hitter and pitched pretty well the rest of the season. If you take a look at his splits from last year, just first half, second half. The first half he was it was horrible. His ERA was in the 6s. In the second half, he pitched 12 starts, including the no-hitter, and his ERA was in the 1s. In the second half of the season, he was pitching like an ace. And now you can think about him. He He had the option to get out of his contract with the Giants, tipped his toe in the free agent market, and now found himself with the Dodgers. This is going to be, I think this is a terrific move for the Dodgers for many reasons. First of all, he is an experienced pitcher, clearly. He is a pitcher with postseason experience. We'll get to that in a second. And he is someone who, when things look good, he's as good as they get, at least in the way that pitchers pitch nowadays. And you take a look at him and say, like, okay, he's got a full spring training now. He's not going to be in that, what the hell am I doing? He's not going to be in that, oh, well, am I going to be signed or what? He doesn't have to worry about a contract for the next 5 years. He can just get himself into shape, get into a proper spring training, and then here we go. Excuse me, I had a tiny bit of a cough right there. And now the man who looked like he was going to pitch the Rays into Game 7 when he dominated the Dodgers in Game 6 during the COVID series, and one of the single worst managerial decisions in the history of baseball took place when he was lifted while throwing a masterpiece. I mean, that's not up for debate, right? That's an event that we all agree was one of the most grotesque managerial decisions in the history of baseball, when while throwing 73 pitches, let up 2 hits, no walks, 9 strikeouts in 5 1/3 innings, and was lifted for an exhausted Nick Anderson. And I know it's been beaten to death, but it should be beaten to death until the moment the Rays win the World Series. They were going to Game 7, and the Rays made a conscious decision to lose the game. And Snell, that was his last moment in a Rays uniform. Now, I have to admit, I thought he was going to go back to San Diego. That's where I thought he was going to go. That's where I made the prediction that he was going to go to San Diego. I thought went to San Francisco, proved he could still pitch, and then he was going to go back, because I think the Padres are going to be in full we got to win right now mode. But the Dodgers made the move. They pulled the trigger. And then when you consider the fact that they're going to have Yamamoto, you don't know what's going to happen with Walker Buehler. And again, he had an injury-plagued season. You don't know what you're going to get. You know what's going to happen with Jack Flaherty. You don't know what's going to happen with him. And you're hoping that Yamamoto can pitch well and be strong for the whole season. You're hoping that Tyler Glasnow can pitch well. I mean, he pitched well for the 22 games that he did pitch, but he wasn't available for the postseason. You take a look at maybe Tony Gonsolin could come back. Maybe Dustin May could come back. Maybe a rookie like Landon Knack, who was on the postseason roster. He's 26 years old, and he pitched a little bit in the World Series. Not much, but maybe he could come in. But for all the people, all the talk about people complaining about, there should be a salary cap or stuff like that. I've never understood the need for a salary cap in terms of keeping things competitive. You're seeing 17 different teams have made the World Series since 2010. That's not the case in basketball or football, where they have much stronger salary caps. Besides, the complaint should be for the teams that aren't spending, not for the teams that are spending. And the Dodgers, even though they won the World Series, had the tremendous hole in their roster, in that, lest we forget, they had to play bullpen games. They didn't have great pitching depth when they went to the postseason. And quite frankly, if the Yankees didn't do some severely boneheaded things along the way in the World Series, that series could have been 3-2 Yankees going back to LA. But absolutely, if they held on a 5-run lead with the Dodgers pitching staff as gassed as it was, If they went to game 6, I think the Yankees will push it to game 7. So we're going to see the Dodgers are making a big push. The Dodgers want to have back-to-back championships. The Dodgers want to make sure that, they've had all these playoff years in a row. They've won one in the COVID year, they won one not in the COVID year. They want to just make sure that this is a multiple World Series situation. I'm sure Shohei Ohtani also wants it to be a multiple World Series so he can come out and have the great postseason that have the great World Series they didn't have this year. But this is a big move, and a big name has come off the free agent, the free agent board a day after Yusei Kikuchi. Now, two teams have to really take a good long look in the mirror and say, what do we do now? Because Blake Snell is off the board, and two teams with images of a championship dancing in their head are going to have to answer the actual champs. Hey, let's hear from our friends over at FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So if you got a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more. And you can do it on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the National Football League. All right, the Padres. I thought they were going to bring back Blake Snell. They did not. The Giants, I thought that maybe they were going to be more aggressive in bringing back Blake Snell. Who knows? Maybe they were. But the fact of the matter is, we are now looking at the Dodgers with an improved pitching staff, and they don't even necessarily need Blake Snell to be a Cy Young ace. They need him to just be a good pitcher. Well, right now there is an ace still floating out there, and he's arguably the best pitcher available, and that's Corbin Burnes. Now, the Orioles, I think, should be going all in because, lest we forget, the Orioles are a playoff team in back-to-back years, and they really, really, and did I mention really, want to advance in the playoffs for the first time since 2014 and maybe get to the World Series for the first time since, Return of the Jedi came out. It's been a while. Now, the Mets are obviously going to be kicking the tires on this, and the Red Sox are going to be kicking the tires on Corbin Burnes, and the Yankees probably should. But I think the Giants and the Padres should be going all out. And that also brings up the Roki Sasaki situation. Now, a lot of people thought that Sasaki is a guaranteed to go to Los Angeles. And you know what? He still very well might. And remember, Ohtani is going back to the rotation next year. Yamamoto is going to be completely back from his injuries, and Blake Snell is going to have a full spring training. And hopefully, if you're a Dodger fan, Tyler Glasnow will actually be healthy. Now, there's no such thing as too much pitching. If you don't believe me, the Dodgers scheduled bullpen games in the postseason and had to punt one game because they were running out of pitchers. But Roki Sasaki and Corbin Burnes should absolutely be on the radar of San Francisco and for San Diego, as is Max Fried. Now, I'm a big believer if you have a star player, you keep them. You bring them aboard. And if I'm the Braves, I don't let Max Fried walk. And the Braves have been pretty good at keeping their stars. But the Padres should also be given a good long look at him. You know how the Dodgers have gone all in to win? Well, that's what the Padres have to do. This is their opportunity to win the first title in their team's history. And so maybe, just maybe, they've got to go full in on some of these aces that are floating around there. As for San Francisco, remember when it was every other year for the Giants? And it looked like they were going to do it again in 2016 when they had the lead in the ninth inning against the Cubs, and they would have gone back to Chicago for a winner-take-all game 5 with Johnny Cueto on the mound. I thought, you thought, we all thought, oh my God, they're going to do it again. Now, they didn't because that year's Giants team had a horrible bullpen, a bullpen which was a great strength when they won in 2010, 2012, and 2014. But since that series, since the 2016 division series, the Giants have been in the postseason 1 year. And that was the year they won 107 ball games, 107 ball games. And boy, oh boy, is that looking like a fluke. But if you're Buster Posey in charge of the Giants right now, and you're taking a good long look at this team, you know he doesn't want to lose to LA. You know it. And you know that he is going to maybe flying by the seat of his pants a little bit to try to put a quality team on the field. Giant fans want to see a contender, and they're getting a little fed up that they're seeing the Dodgers turning into the absolute the prime model of franchises, while the Giants can't even get an extended wild card. So, and of course, the Padres spent a lot of money and brought in a lot of stars and are basically creating a this is now situation. And then, of course, there's Juan Soto. I kind of like I would love it if Juan Soto returned to the Padres. There would be something unbelievably funny about that to me. Although the rumor mill has that the Red Sox are going all in on him. Talk about another angry fan base who are tired of seeing one of the richest teams in baseball acting like a bunch of Scrooges. Now, I wonder how much these stories that we're seeing printed of the Red Sox are, Sean McAdam is reporting the Red Sox are offering this and the Red Sox are offering that. I can't help but wonder how much of that is the Boris camp leaking stuff out to make the Yankees panic or to make the Mets panic for that matter. And maybe, look I'm not going to pretend that I'm completely neutral on this. I'm a native New Englander, grew up with the Red Sox. Look at that. I got my 82 Red Sox yearbook right behind me. I can't pretend that I wouldn't be giggling like crazy if Juan Soto signs with the Red Sox leaving the Yankees. Of course, Juan Soto could also bust with the Red Sox. Stuff like that has happened in the past. But it would be interesting to see it. But I really think that a lot of this chatter is to get the asking price up. Because remember, that remains the only factor. Juan Soto will sign with a team that offers him the most money. And if he signs with the Red Sox, it's because the Red Sox offered him the most money. If he signs with the Mets, signs with Los Angeles, signs with the Yankees, the Orioles, the Sacramento A's, it will be because they offer the most money. Now, the Red Sox have a lot of money, so it shouldn't be that much of an imposition. And it would certainly energize the team. But I can't help but wonder, you know what? This has Boris's fingerprints all over it. Well, that's a big, big piece of news that's happened today. When we come back, we're doing a live stream today, and I see a lot of eyeballs on our live stream today. Thanks for all logging in right now. When we come back, we're going to talk about what some of you are posting in the comments section. All right, we're getting a bunch of comments here. So let's see what people are saying right now. Nando 390 says Dodgers 24 World Series and are gonna run it back. You bums. Well, it looks like they're certainly trying for it. But lest we forget, there have been absolutely stacked and loaded teams that have gone back and not given us back-to-back championships. I mean, we all thought the Astros were going to win at least back-to-back one of these years, right? And then you saw when the Cubs won the World Series in 2016, it looked like they were going to be a slew of pennants coming out of Chicago. So it's not always as easy as you think to go win it back-to-back. But the Dodgers would love to have be the first team of the 21st century to go back-to-back. And I got to phrase it like that because the 2000 Yankees were repeat champion, but they were repeat champion for the 99. So that's the last back-to-back championship was 98, 99, and 2000 with the Yankees. It's been a while. Remember that salary cap? It's the same teams winning every year. Well, the Chiefs are probably going to win what, their fourth Super Bowl in 5 years or something crazy like that. And we're going to have there is a chance we can have our first repeat champion since the year 2000. Does he have a qualifying offer? Does it hurt the Dodgers international market? I don't think it'll hurt. I actually don't know if he has a qualifying offer. I don't know if he can have one because he's been a free agent before. I think the qualifying offer was a thing that helped weigh him down like an anchor in last year's free agency moves. The Dodgers international budget, what budget? They're the Dodgers. Polo L writes, who else joins this Dodger team next will be exciting. If I was Teoscar Hernandez, I would resign right now. Say, I want to, let's get the band back together. Although Teoscar should sign for whoever he wants to long term. He's been an all-star. Now he's been a World Series hero, got a big hit in the World Series. Now he should sign for the longest deal he can get. Give him stability and multi-million dollars and maybe find his way back to the postseason. Nando 39 says $60 million is deferred. Dodgers are not done. I don't think they're done at all. At all. I think they are in the Sasaki chase right now. Tim Firth writes, should the Mets sign Soto a 15-year with $600 million? It's not my money. And they can afford it. And putting him on that team, the Mets are a team where they have to win a title soon. They have to get the fan base off the schneid. And with all the money that they have right now, with the new ownership and everything like that, they have to win one. Kind of reminds me when the new ownership took over the Red Sox, they had to win one. They had to get one out of the way to get that monkey off of their back. And they did exactly that with 04, which allowed them, when you take a look at the team that won in 07, was a little more homegrown. There was a little more product from their farm system on that team than in 04. But 04 was, oh, to hell with all this. Let's just spend as much money as possible and get that title. And the Mets have to do that. For all the money that they spent and all the OMGs and everything like that, they still haven't won. They still haven't been to the World Series since 2015, and they still haven't won the World Series since 1986. Tubeview says, I disagree with the only about the most money arguments with Soto. I think it's about money and legacy. I can't possibly disagree with you more. His legacy is fine. He has his World Series ring. He's had his MVP caliber seasons. He showed he could play in New York. All of that is fine. He's got the big home runs in the World Series, big home runs in the League Championship Series. His legacy is fine. His agent is Scott Boras. And I'm not a Boras hater. If I were a player, I would want Scott Boras to be my agent because Scott Boras would make me a very wealthy man. And Scott Boras, you notice that when at the end of the World Series, he was like, Soto was like, he didn't throw the Yankees any bone whatsoever. His legacy will be fine wherever he plays. If he signs with LA, if he signs with the Mets, he signs with the Red Sox, chances are those teams are going to contend, maybe win a title, which would be his second ring. His legacy is fine. He will go because this is the great revenge. Blake Snell now got a good deal, got that 5-year deal that he wanted last year, and had to go through that 1 year in San Francisco in order to snag it. But after Snell didn't work out, and Montgomery didn't work out, all these things did not work out for Boras. His reputation, his legacy is getting Soto the biggest freaking contract you've ever seen, at least short of Ohtani. So look at TubeU. You're a good fan, and and I just disagree with you. I think it really is that simple. I also think the teams that can afford them will be able to pull that out are the teams that feel that his inclusion will be the difference between a pennant or no pennant. I mean, he could sign with the White Sox, but the White Sox aren't close. Now, if they offered him the most money, I think he would go there, but I don't think they're going to. Toronto desperately wants to be relevant again, and he would be a huge star in Toronto. And wherever he signs is where he's going to be spending the bulk of his prime, but it'll be for the most money. All right, everyone. Well, we're going to be talking Rays baseball coming up. We're going to be taking a look next week at the what's it called? What's the word I'm looking for? The Hall of Fame ballot. And this might be or may not be. It depends on how tomorrow goes. My last podcast before Thanksgiving. And so my recommendation to you is this. Whoever you're spending Thanksgiving with, whether you're with your family, whether you're with friends, or whether you're by yourself, be kind to yourself. If you're around people who have a different political or spiritual point of view, don't bait them. Don't bait them. Just try to find common ground. Try to give thanks. And if all else fails, just talk baseball. So follow us at Locked On MLB Pods on Twitter or whatever it's called now on Instagram. I'm your pal Sully. I'm at Sully Baseball on Twitter, Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram. And hello to my friend all the way in Melbourne. Two of you is in Melbourne, Australia. I know Melbourne, Florida very well. You know Melbourne, Australia. From Melbourne, Florida, Melbourne, Australia. Have a wonderful day, everyone. This has been Locked On MLB. I am your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully.